Hi, I'm Cynthia Schiller. Please like and subscribe. So we're going to talk about the brain of the narcissist again, because there are brain scans that have shown certain portions of the brain are damaged. So this study was from researchers over in Germany a few years back. And what they did is they took 17 people who had narcissistic personality compared to 17 people from the regular population and compared it. So when they examined the overall structure of the brain volume, they found that people with MPD, their brains are pretty much the same as healthier people overall. However, there were some differences when they started to study the areas that scientists believe are associated with empathy. And those portions of the brain are the bilateral interior insula, the cingulate cortex, the anterior and median parts of the cingulate cortex, and also the supplementary motor area. So what they had found is that these patients that had NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, they have a lower amount of brain matter in the areas that overlap with the areas that are associated with empathy, such as the median cingulate cortex, the rostral, left anterior insula, and dorsolateral and medial parts of the prefrontal cortex. And I have some videos where I show the different areas of the brain. You can actually see a darkened out area with people. You can type in brain damage on my my YouTube, and you can find the scans there. But these empathetic areas are less developed in the people who have narcissistic personality disorder. So what does that mean? Can it heal? The brain has a hard time regenerating. There are certain portions that can regenerate, but the narcissist, in that area, there's a break between the neurons and the neurotransmitters. They're not communicating correctly, so it's like they're stunted. We keep talking how they have an emotional intellect of a child, but they can look at things intellectually, but not emotionally. And that's where it gets really tricky. It's hard to understand that because, um, I have talked about my narcissistic neighbors. This just happened. They asked to borrow my car, and he's an alcoholic, not insured. I don't know how the insurance works, if it falls under mine. I'm in Michigan, a no state uh, place, but mine might pick up for it. But if anything happened, I'm not exactly sure. So I don't want to risk it. Um, but I said no. And he got all ticked off. And he just wants to run to the store to get alcohol. We live probably 2 city blocks, if you think, not around the blocks, just walking down the blocks, 2 city blocks away from a gas station where they sell alcohol. And it's $1 cheaper if you go to the major store. But I, I said no. And, I could take them when I'm going this weekend, but I just got home from work. It's going to cost me more than $1 to get him to uh, the large store and back. So I just said no, and so then he's getting all upset that I let the other narcissistic neighbor work on my car and let him drive it around our complex to test the brakes because he worked on my brakes. Um, that guy has some DUIs, but he wasn't drinking when he was working on my car, and it's just around the complex to make sure the brakes would stop. So they're cousins, they live together. So the first one just gave me the hardest time, always compares me to himself to the others, like, who am I more fair to? Who do I answer the phone first or text back? Or it's always tit for tat. And so he just kept going on and on about, you let somebody else drive. And I'm like, I've told you guys You know, when you live next door to somebody, you kind of help each other out a little bit. I won't get involved in a relationship with them. And I've helped them out because I understand they're struggling. Um, we can choose our battles. You know, I chose to help. Um, so I drove the second one to work a couple times, and I didn't let him take my car. Um, you know, it was my choice to help, but I didn't let him take my car. I don't let him take my car to the store. Um, the second one orders food, we'll pay the money for that. There are times that I'll take him with the store to the store with me because neither one has a vehicle. Um, the first one just doesn't want to pay bills, doesn't want to be responsible with money. The second one has a lot of narcissists quit jobs, leave them, get fired, whatever. So they're finally back on track. They're getting their finances back in order. But you know, today we don't always have good days. You know, we can have hard days too. And so I just kind of, you know, just got home from work, just kind of wanted to chill, have a little something to eat. And he's blowing my phone up just so I can take him to the store. Then he gives me attitude when I say no. And then finally, he kept going on and on. You let other people drive your car. And I'm like, nobody drives my car. He was testing my brakes. And then I'm getting a hard time from him that I let him work on my car. And it just was overwhelming where I'm just like, you know, you tell him, quit giving me a hard time. You try to defend yourself. Like I wanted to make sure the brakes were good. It's my choice to let him drive around the complex. I'm not letting him drive out of the complex. Um, so these narcissistic relationships, we feel like we can't say anything. Like we can't set boundaries. We're not allowed even I made that decision. I'm not allowed to make that decision. I think I am. It's my car. Um, and so I just ended the conversation. And the wind blew the door closed. So it didn't sound like I slammed the door, but I didn't. It just sucked it. And I just locked the door because I was done talking. So he knocks on my door and I open it and I was like, yeah. And he's like, look, I'm not trying to be a jerk. But he was being a jerk the whole time. Um, because he wasn't stopping. I kept saying, I don't deserve a hard time about this. You know, I gave you my answer and he's coming back with all these excuses on why I should give him the car. And then you know, he's like, do you need a hug? He's like, I'm sorry. That's what the narcissists do is they abuse you and then they say they're sorry. So I'm not in a relationship with this guy. But it's that cycle that we see uh because we kind of do it too. We mess up too. You know, there's times we make mistakes, but during that conversation, how many times I had said, you know, I don't deserve a hard time. It's my decision. I said, no, I don't know if you're insured. Like I said, no, I don't deserve a hard time. They just continue on with it. Um, it wears you down. And then, you know, it agitates you. It agitates you. And did I need to be left in this agitated state? You know, I had asked, you know, for one thing, he's blowing up my phone. I need glasses. So I'm like constantly, like every 2 minutes, like trying, and it wears you down. They'll blow your phone up for self-serving reasons. They don't wait. They need everything now. Um, and you know, so they could say $1, like literally it's like $1.30. And the difference, he wants to buy a wine box, a box of wine. Um, and it's costing me, it'll take like 40 minutes out of my day so he can save $1. Um, and there's a gas station right there. He got paid today. Um, I know money's really tight for them, but it's not that tight. Um, they're buying cigarettes, buying alcohol, uh, other fun things that they like to do. So there's, you know, there's enough money. Plus it's not something that he needs. I'll take him there for groceries, but not for a box of wine when it's not necessary. It's fine if he gets it. It's right at the gas station. But the narcissist brain, Does it ever heal? Does it ever heal? Um, if you think about it, if they were like at rest, um, you know, if you had a real bad cut on your arm, you leave it alone, if it's, and let it heal. But their brain is constantly in that state. It's constantly not settled. It's not healing. If you think about it, like if there was a healing process where the brain regrows, for narcissists, then you would think by age 80, all narcissists would be healed. Or age 90, they had their whole life for their brain to heal. It doesn't heal. So the ones that change their actions, they don't change their brain chemistry though. And that's where it gets difficult. They don't have the connection. Their neurons and neurotransmitters aren't communicating. So when we think about all this, like, how do they not understand? And I keep saying it's like a foreign language to them. What we're trying to say, the concepts that we're saying are foreign to them. Just like when we meet somebody who speaks a different language we don't know, it's not processing, like it's not connecting. I told you how I went to China. I can understand Spanish a little bit when you can connect something. Um, to where I'm trying to think of a word that habla is like, oh, table, or you might need to see it written, but certain words will trigger, like, oh, that's probably what that might be. Or baño, you think of bath, or like, I don't know, sometimes you can pull from certain things to put it together, and that's not the best example. But they can't pull and connect. That's why when I was in China, I couldn't read it to try and figure out, what does this word mean? Because it's characters I can't put together. I can't sound out. So I don't even have a guess. And the narcissist, it's almost like they don't have a guess. Like, what are you talking about? And the second one I was with literally says, I don't get it. And I had said to him too, it's like, now that you're with the new supply, like, do you feel what we felt? Does it feel better being with her? Like, because it was intense and passionate with us. I'm like, do you feel that? Because that's what I crave. And he's like, oh, I never thought of it that way. They don't think about how they feel. They don't think how they feel. They just do what they're going to do. It works, so they stick with it. It was easier. He didn't have to hold accountability about certain issues if he moved on with somebody else. And so they're not taking accountability, and they just don't understand what they did. And just like the neighbor today, it's the way they communicate. They want to let you know they're ticked off. They'll do the poor pity me or triangulate, just so you're like, oh, I don't, it's just a losing game. So there is a difference in their brain. And the damage, you know, they're never going to get back to whole. And I know this is in response to a viewer who had asked, is there hope? Is there hope? And it depends on what you mean by hope. For their brain to be completely healed, or hope they're going to change. And what does change mean? Change a heart? Change the actions? So if they change the actions, where they're like, oh, I have to say I love you every Friday night, so they don't like get upset. Is that heartfelt? Does that mean something to you? Yeah, now they're a puppet. So do you want to be with a puppet? Like, he's so sweet. Every Friday, it's like every Friday he tells me he loves me. Every Saturday at 11 o'clock, he says, "Good morning, sweetheart." Or do we want them to just spontaneously know to do those things? Because that's when it means something. So, you know, we can have a parrot. We can tell them what to say, how to act. But when somebody really loves you, they do it. And have you noticed where they're like, I never asked you to do that, you know, where they don't give you credit for the things that you do try to do. Um, that's the spontaneous stuff we're doing because we love them. You know, I got all dressed up for you today. Let's go for a walk or something like. I didn't ask you to do that. And you're like, oh, I was trying to do something nice. I made a special dinner. I didn't ask you to do that. And it starts to be hurtful where you're like, I can't do anything spontaneous. I'm trying to show you. And they always say actions speak louder than words. So we're showing our love and they're pushing it away. So for a long time, we don't realize that's what they're doing. They're pushing us away. Every time we say, hey, I did something great for you. And they're like, I never asked you to do it. Because that's the whole point. Like when I had my daughter, I didn't have to wait for her to ask me to change her diaper. I did it because I loved her. And you do things because you love somebody. And they take it for granted. They don't like it. But the twist of it is when you stop doing it, then they're mad at you for not doing it. And that's when you start walking on eggshells. And as soon as you start walking on eggshells, that's when they discard you or at least devalue you. So the new supply is going to be devalued. Is the new supply going to be discarded emotionally? It's hard to say physically. So I hope this was a helpful video. Please check out the other brain damage videos I have. It'll show our brain damage caused by narcissistic abuse. Also what the narcissist brain looks like. Also, I go into like some CPT or it's a PTSD brain scan that is pretty similar to CPTSD. So big hugs to you guys, and topic requests are always welcome, and I'll see you in the next video.